Well, hey everybody, it's Chuck and Yousif. Yousif, you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Yousif. I'm a fourth-year chemistry student at the University of Florida. Currently taking an intro beekeeping course, so I figured I'd see what it's all about by shadowing the beekeeper.
Yeah, so Yousif lives here in Jacksonville. He said about 20 minutes away from my apiary here, and he just reached out to me and said, hey, can you help me with this course? And I guess University of Florida is doing a virtual course, so he's not actually using the UFB lab. So as a practical, the University of Florida has him come out and work with local beekeepers. So glad to do it. We'll spend about an hour out here. Yeah, we'll go out and we'll talk with some basics, but I figured I would just record this and put it on YouTube because you know, maybe there's some beginners out there that might like some of Yousif's questions, and I don't even think to talk about them normally. So we'll just kind of follow you along. I've got the mic on, so you should be able to hear me, but expect this to be a little bit less of a me and the camera, but me and Yousif, but bringing you along with us. All right, stick with us. Here we go. All right, so Yousif, the first thing we're going to do is light a smoker, and I'm going to have you do it.
All right.
Because that's the first thing that every beekeeper has to figure out how to do.
All right.
But, so this is a smoker. Have you ever seen a smoker?
I have.
Maybe, okay, in person or just in pictures or whatever?
In pictures.
Okay, so a smoker, most people originally think a smoke is like bug spray, and you spray it and the bees go away. That's not what the smoke does. The smoke masks the bees' ability to communicate with pheromones.
Yep.
So it's kind of like putting a barrier, because these insects speak with smell, and if I go in here and disrupt this hive, the bees that I disrupt are immediately going to start secreting an alarm pheromone. Okay. That alarm pheromone to me smells like bananas. You learn after about 5 or 6 years actually what it smells like. But if you have smoke on them, that banana smell does not propagate, so they don't set off the alarm bells in there for all the other bees to come out. So while it doesn't necessarily stop them from getting disrupted, it just stops them from spreading the word of disruption and turning into a little bit of a frenzy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I remember on one of my quizzes, they said you have to stand next to the hive to do it so that you don't block the entrance.
So blocking the entrance is just a little bit of an annoyance. So if you stand here, you see if I stand here, they're going to kind of hover around the front going, whoa, why can't I get in there, right? Yeah. You know, that's the way they get in. And, you know, it's not going to cause you to sting them, but the less disruption, the better. So the first step in lighting a smoker is to get a little bit of fuel in there. So grab a little small handful of that pine needle and put it in there. And then you just kind of get that, because like any small fire, if you've ever started a campfire, you've kind of got to get it going. Yep. So I'll just go ahead and do the fire part. You go ahead and hold this by the bellows. And then I'm just going to light the bottom of it and start puffing it slightly. So you're adding oxygen essentially to the bottom. You just kind of, now look in there and you'll kind of see how the pine needles are getting red, almost like coals, right? About 30 seconds or a minute of that, that is going to be ready to put a pile of pine needles on top gently. But you can imagine, if you just started stuffing pine needles in there, you're going to be choking that out, right? So go ahead and give it a couple more puffs to make sure it's hot, nice and hot, and grab another handful with your other hand and start stuffing it in there on top. There you go. You can take a bigger handful than that and kind of keep puffing as you go. And now you're turning into a smoker. This is beekeeper's lung. Downwind is better. Yep. See how it's starting to turn white? Yep. And that's smoking. Now keep puffing it because you don't want it to go out. I'm going to grab some more because we're going to be doing this. This is where you kind of gauge how long do I want my smoker to keep going. Okay. A smoker like that, if you pack it full, will completely get going. Now,
still going, or is it just
no, well, smoke is all we want now, right? Because it's a smoker. So I'm showing you, we're just going to do it in front of the camera. We're just packing it full though. Here, I'll let you hold it. We're packing it full. That's what I mean by packing. Okay, now see how we're just going to keep smoking it. Cool. And once we think we got, now this is going to keep working because we did that bottom layer. If we put too much fuel in there to start, we'd have put it out and the smoke wouldn't happen. So you already kind of got the gist of it. And just for an example, go down there and just give like a puff or two on that hive. Yeah, that's about it. Now, that got it started. Some smoke went in there, kind of dissipated a little bit. And that's essentially how you use bees. Now, there's a little bit of reading the bees on how much smoke they need. Yes. Most beginners use too much. They use too much smoke. They use it almost like a bug spray. And that's kind of, once you understand why you're using it, you kind of realize more isn't necessarily better. You're just kind of breaking up their habit pattern. So we have a lot of hives here. Let me grab a hive tool. And you've seen a hive tool? There's a lot, I have about 10 of these around here. And the reason I have 10 of them around here is because I always just leave it laying somewhere, so it's easier for me to have several. So on this hive, we've got the basics to talk about on the parts. This is the bottom board with an entrance. This is the brood chamber. And in the United States, this is called a deep. It's 9 5/8 high, which makes a deep box. You can use deep boxes for both honey and for raising brood, but if you put all honey in a box this big, it weighs about 80 to 85 pounds.
Wow.
So you imagine lifting that off of here and carrying it over. It's really, really heavy, which is why they've made these smaller sizes in the US specifically for honey. I shouldn't say specifically, but many beekeepers use this size for honey because when this gets filled up with honey, it's about 60 pounds. And then they make an even smaller one like this that's about 45 or 50 pounds. So the smaller the box, when it's filled with honey, the easier for the beekeeper to lift it.
And do you ever use a queen excluder to keep the brood out of
Yep,
honey?
so that's what this is.
Oh, that's
That's a metal excluder. See if I have another one to show you out here. I guess I got them all on my hives, but we can pop this open and I can kind of show you. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop this. I'll let you hold the smoker. So the first thing you do when you pop open a hive is generally assess what's going on. The fact that we're not tons of bees up here tells me they're not moving up into this super. So I can just pop one of these frames out and just show you. So this is a medium frame. You see they're just continuing to draw this wax out. They haven't put any honey in it, but they're just working on it. Because we're in the fall flow here, there's about a month that they produce honey here. I've got a super on here in case they generate enough to fill this box up and need more room. Now, we had that hurricane last week and weather and rain, and our honey flow for this fall may have just been disrupted by weather because the plants that might have been having a lot of nectar might have stopped, or maybe the wind. Anyway, it could have been disrupted, but either way, we won't know till it's over, which is the end of October. So once we've kind of got this assessed, we're going to pop this off. And there's the excluder you were just asking about.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
So this is a metal bound excluder. Let me bring the camera up so everybody can watch. And I'm just going to go ahead and recenter it because this is a metal bound excluder. And basically it's designed so worker bees can go through it, but the queens and the drones can't. We don't really care if the drones go through it, but obviously it's just designed for queen. See that little worker right there? She's just going through it. See how she just squeezes right through without a problem. Yep.
How can you tell the queen apart from the other ones?
With experience, you can tell just by her size.
Okay.
And I've got my queens marked with a green dot because this is the year that we paint them green. And we could see how the bees are behaving today. I don't have my gloves on yet. We can kind of assess this bee, but I'm going to kind of, in looking at this hive, I'm going to talk out loud for the people that can't see it on the camera. Do you see all these bees just kind of peeking their heads out in between every single frame? If you look down in between there, do you see there's bees in between every frame? Wow. It's full.
Yeah.
So this is a healthy hive. If this was a small cluster, they would be in the center here, and the packed bees would be in the middle, but there'd be no bees over here on the edges.
Is that a drone right there?
That's a drone. So, cool thing about a drone, give me your hand, no stingers.
No stingers, really?
You just grab it like you would any other bug. You don't have to squish it, but you see, that's a good one to hand kids or people that don't want to get stung, because you can hold a drone, no stinger.
I think I heard it.
It's okay, they'll make more. That's the thing about bees, it's a numbers game. Give them a little puff of smoke on there. Oh, look, your smoker's almost out. See how there's not much smoke? Kind of give it a couple puffs like you would a campfire or a fire just to keep it going. There you go. When you're holding the smoker, just an occasional puff or two kind of just keeps it lit. So every once in a while, just kind of squeeze it. So generally, the structure of a hive, the bees will put food on the edges and they'll raise brood or young, is another word for it, in the middle. So if I wanted to try to see some brood, I'd just go right here in the middle. But as a beekeeper, you see all those bees, it's a little crowded in here. So usually I take the second to last frame, and because I'm not wearing gloves, I'm just gonna do it gently to try to not disrupt them. And I pull it out. This should have food on it.
Yeah.
because it's on the edge, might have some pollen, and I gently lift it out to not disrupt them any more than possible. But you can see this has food, honey, and nectar. And I'm going to tell you how you can tell. Can you see these cappings? This is wax.
Yeah.
There's honey underneath it.
Yeah.
See these cappings? This is also wax. Take a picture if you need with your phone. This is one of the things that, you know, for your class, you might need some pictures too. This is actually brood. This is their young. And you see some colors in there in the middle. That's pollen. So since you're going to med school, you've probably taken some nutrition. Basically, bees have protein and pollen and carbohydrate in the form of fructose in this honey.
Which one's the propolis?
So propolis, see the stuff on my finger? Grab it with your hands. It's like sticky, that's propolis.
Okay, cool.
It's not a food source as much as it's an antibiotic and a treatment for their hives.
Really?
That little drone just climbed on there, see that?
Yep.
You can even take that whole wad. You see, it's very sticky. They make it from resin. You can, rosins and saps and things like that. And you see on this side, there's a whole lot more brood than on this side. So you remember we put this frame in there like that, and the closer to the center, all that brood they're raising. So every single one of those is gonna be a baby bee. Okay, so you can just throw it on the ground. Yep. The assessment of each frame is important. And do you see in these frames right here, some cells with liquid in them that's a little shiny? Mm-hmm. That's nectar.
Yep.
So that is nectar that hasn't been turned into honey yet.
Okay.
So it's right there near the brood so they can use it.
Was there any honey in there, or?
So this is all honey.
Oh, that's all
Remember
honey.
I told you? There you go.
Yeah.
Taste it if you want. That's honey.
I can't.
Oh, you got your jacket down. That's right. Okay, give them another little puff. Keep your smoker going.
Do we need to refill it?
Nope, it's a matter of you keeping it lit. You haven't burned it yet, you just let it go out a little bit. So give it a couple quick, fast puffs, and it'll kind of stay lit. See how it's starting to come back?
Yep.
It's just like blowing on the coals on the campfire. Something you just got to keep them going. Okay, so now that I have some room with that one, see how I can move these frames over? And now I can go into the middle of the hive without necessarily taking every single frame out. And the reason I want to go into the middle is if I was going to find the queen in this hive, she might be in the middle, most likely.
How come the bees don't want to sting you?
Because I'm being very gentle. I haven't shaken them yet. I'm going to get stung. I just don't know when yet. It's going to happen, and it's usually because it's my mistake. So the bees will teach you through stinging. A lot more pollen on this frame. See all that yellow, pretty pollen?
Yep.
They keep the pollen right next to the brood because there are bees whose job it is to feed the young larvae. Now, do you see this capped brood right here?
I do, yeah.
And then right above it, if you look in the bottom of those cells, do you see little white larvae?
I do see them.
So,
there's a lot of the
yep.
ones right there.
They're feeding the larvae until they get to a certain age, and then they cap the frame so that you can tell the different stages of the growth of the insect. And here again, lots of pollen on this frame. And always take the opportunity to clean up a little bit.
Yep. What is that?
This is stuff I put on my hives for mites.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Varroa destructor is a mite we have to deal with as a beekeeper.
Veruca?
I'm sorry?
The Veruca stuff?
You talking about what I put on there?
I don't know, like I know there was like a pest or something, or like a disease called Veruca.
This isn't a disease. The pest is called Varroa destructor.
Oh, okay.
And it spreads disease through, it's parasitic, because it bites onto the bee like a tick does almost. Mm-hmm. So I'm just kind of surveying. This is all larvae, and I'm looking for the queen for you. Just happen to see if we see her.
Yeah.
We have lots of hives, so we can kind of keep going. And also, if I do find the queen, that also means I can do a mite check without the risk of hurting the queen.
And there's a queen in every one of these boxes, right?
Every hive that's healthy has a queen. If it doesn't have a queen, it's on its way to death.
Yep.
Unless they have the resources to make a new queen. All eggs and larvae. Can you see they look like empty cells, but there's a little glistening of food in the bottom of those cells.
I don't see any larvae though.
They're very tiny. They're actually eggs in this frame, so they look like a little smaller. Shape of a rice grain, but it's much smaller than rice.
There's one, yep, I see it.
Yep. All right. Looking for mama.
Usually in the center, right?
Ish. She doesn't have to be, but if you were to say, you know, with the percentage of time you're looking for the queen, she's typically laying eggs. And when you find a frame with all eggs like this, she's not far because she laid those eggs within the last day or so. Now she could move across this entire hive in a matter of minutes if she wanted. And the fact we're in here, give me a couple puffs of smoke. Yeah, keep that smoker going. Yeah, you letting that thing go out on me, Yousif. All right.
Oh, there it goes. A little bit. Gotta redo something with it?
You just kind of keep moving it with your hands. Keep it lit. Just keep it lit. Keep just kind of air flowing through there. All right. I don't see the queen on here. I'm looking fairly quickly because I know what she's going to look like. But
looking for a green dot.
Yeah, a green dot's a good thing to look for. Now, if they killed the queen, or if the queen died that had the green dot, there could be a queen in here without a dot. And in that case, I would be a little harder to see.
How often do they do that?
It depends. I've had queens last 3 years. I've also had them not last 3 months. So
Really?
it depends. The hive as a collective decides whether or not the queen is laying good enough.
That's the biggest bee I've seen on your leg right there.
It's the biggest what?
The biggest bee I've seen on your leg right there.
That's another drone. Yeah. See how it's got big beady eyes?
Yep.
That's so he can see queens when they go mate.
I heard bees have 5 eyes.
They're compound eyes. I don't know about 5.
They have 2 compound eyes and then like 3 in like the middle of their
I
head.
think, yes, those are the kind of infrared light eyes they use to detect the azimuth of the sun. You're right.
Okay.
You're right on that. Let's see.
Should I give them a puff? Or no?
Yeah, keep it puffed. Keep puffing them. Keep that. More importantly, just keep squeezing it to keep it lit. A lot of bees on this frame.
Is there a problem that they're going so far out? Like
No. Not a problem. It's kind of like the beekeeper and the bees, you know, they'll work around you. And if they don't like it, they'll let you know.
Do the neighbors have like a problem with it?
Yeah, they get stung occasionally, but it's usually just accidental. I mean, they actually have a pretty tight radius where they go.
Okay.
So they don't really just buzz around like this everywhere in the neighborhood. Sometimes they're chasing water.
Yeah, you have a nice water source right there.
Yep. Okay, well, we didn't see the queen in here, so we'll put this one back and we'll go to another one. But I want to put some more oxalic acid strips. Hang out right there. I'll be right back. So there's an organic treatment for mites that uses something called oxalic acid, which is an organic acid.
Salicylic acid?
Oxalic. It's not oxalic. It's OA is what most people abbreviate it when they talk about it, but that's just an acronym for the name, not the chemical compound.
Oh, yeah.
It's found naturally in things like rhubarb and different plants.
Yep.
But it's very acidic, and mites do not like it, and the bees don't care. So it's one of those things that does pretty good. And I've made these strips. This is cardboard like you'd find on a clipboard kind of a thing.
That's what the smell is?
Maybe you're smelling it. I don't know. You've got a really good nose. I can't really smell it. But if you were to stick this oxalic acid in, it'd be just kind of like a tangy acid, not like a hydrochloric that you can't use. But
pH is a little high for hydrochloric, right?
Yeah, hydrochloric would be like in the 1s and 2s. This would probably be in the 3.5 to 4s kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, give them a little puff in there because now I got to squeeze this one back in here. Another little puff, and then I'll put there we go. We'll put her back together.
And the puffs make it less likely for them to sting you because of the...
Well, remember, you're blocking their alarm pheromone.
Yep.
So the first one that stings me is probably going to sting me anyway, but she might not tell her sisters, hey, go get that guy. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way it works. All right, empty honey super just in case they start making more honey. And this is just a cover and a lid and a feeder that I'll be using later in November. All right. Oh, and I forgot my oxalic acid mat. I should, oh, yeah, I'm getting my brush on there too. Let's see, I should be able to get that back in here like this.
Only one touched my hand so far.
I'm being pretty gentle with them. And you can kind of tell they're not really annoyed by us too much. Okay, let's go over here to this other section. Let me grab the camera. And
when I see a bee, I just immediately like run away.
It does take a little bit of tolerance to kind of get used to it. Let me see. We'll go work on some of these. All right. So this is another special type of hive I've got called a long Langstroth. And it's a hive I built. Well, pretty much you can tell I built most everything out here. Yeah, they're all parts of hives. They're hives that I'm not using. It kind of spares. This has got 3 hives in one. So you see you can open it up, and the roaches like the shade because it's nice and dry. Now before we do this, let me get this thing going because you're kind of letting it go out a little bit. That's all right. You're a beginner. Sometimes I just get it going fast like that so it's nice and hot like it was when we started. And now it's going. So I'm gonna open up, so there's a hive here, there's a hive here, there's a hive here. Now I haven't checked on these hives in a while, so I'm not exactly sure how healthy they're gonna be. But as soon as you crack, go ahead and give them a puff in there, just in case, there we go. All right, and now we're assessing. Not as many bees as I thought. They're a little flighty.
Yeah.
So see, looking down in those hives, how there's so many few, there's just not as many bees.
Yeah, it's not nearly as many.
And the way they're flying around, this may be a dead out. But the only way to know is to get in here and figure it out.
Do they eventually die out of like all hives?
They will, but as a beekeeper, I've got spares, and that's what all these little ones over here are. Now, my first thing, what do we see here that we saw in the other one that proves it's not dead?
The brood caps.
Brood. So there's been a queen that's laid eggs in here. Now to get in the sun, sometimes and do you see the little milky in the back of them?
The what?
Milky little substance in the back of some of those cells?
Oh,
look kind of right over here.
Yeah, I see
Yeah,
that.
that's the food. Now what else do you see on that frame? We got lucky.
Oh, the queen right there.
There she is.
She is.
So we'll just give the camera a quick look in case they want to see it. So mama's right there. Yeah. See how she's marked green?
Yep. There we go. Thank you.
So because she's the most important thing in there, as a beekeeper, if I want to keep, remember how you saw me lay that frame down on the other one? I don't want to lay this one down.
Yep.
Because if she gets squished, everything stops. So I've got this special cage here called a queen cage, and it's just like
Is that the one that they can eat through, or is that like a plastic one?
plastic.
Plastic.
But just like the other one, the worker bees can go through that like an excluder, but the queen can't.
Yep.
And I put a little rubber band on it so I don't accidentally open it.
Yep.
And then, like I tell all of my beekeepers on my YouTube channel, put her where you won't bump her. So she's now out of the way. And then now that we know this is not a dead out, I'm kind of interested what else is in there.
Yep.
And I got this little rack, I can set those guys there. And I think what we're gonna find, I think all this is honey, which means
That's great.
it means they're honey bound, which means they might not have left any room for her to lay eggs.
Oh.
But we'll see, maybe they're not. Maybe this is just a,
Queen excluders and like the long hives help with that, like the deep hives?
so it's not. So it's just a matter of honey on the top. So it's just a matter of the way it looked.
Okay.
There's brood on here.
So they're just as healthy as the last time?
You know, I don't see anything to make them not healthy, but like, did you notice on that brood how it wasn't solid brood like some of those other frames were?
Yeah.
On that other hive, there were some of them that were just solid brood. so far this hasn't had any like that yet. See how it's all kind of spotty? That's not a great queen. In other words, she's not laying a perfect brood pattern.
So they might kill her or something?
They might kill her. I could kill her if I had a spare I wanted to use right now. It's a decision. Do you kill a queen this late in the year? Do you solve it in the winter? All those things. But I'm going to bump this one over because I think this is the one right next to where she was. Uh-oh, she almost buzzed me. Lots of honey though. But as a difference, remember you saw those other brood that was nice and flat?
Yeah.
See how these are pencil cap kind of shaped?
Yeah, I remember seeing those on my quiz.
Drone.
Oh, drum. Yep.
They're bigger, right? So their cells have to be kind of drawn out bigger, so they can be so they fit.
That one's like fully like emerged. In
Yep.
in the
And actually,
cell.
a couple of these look like they just may have hatched recently too. Yeah, that's the drone brood. That's not a great example, but that's what they look like. Normally it's just covered.
Yeah,
But this time of year, they're just not making many drones.
We just stand over here and take a...
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, see now this is a little bit better, a little bit more solid. It's not great, but a little bit more solid. But there's definitely plenty of young, so that tells me this hive is not gonna die.
Yep.
But one thing I can do, now that I know where the queen is I can do a mite check. You can always do a mite check, but if you know where the queen is, the mite check can be a little rougher. And I'll show you how we do that. Stay right there, let me go get a bucket. Where's my bucket? Did the hurricane blow it away?
You looking for a bucket?
It's a white plastic bucket that normally stays underneath my hives. Where is my bucket? Yeah, the hurricane blew it back here. This is the one I use. Okay, so because we know the queen is in that cage, I can shake these bees off of this frame into a box, a bucket.
They don't like that.
Yeah, they don't like it, but. And I need about 300 bees to do a check. So, I've got this thing here that's designed to, this is a Dawn dish detergent, and I take about 300 bees, which is about a half a cup. That's a little bit more. And they sacrifice themselves for the good of the colony. So this is, yeah. But what you're doing now is this soap, the detergent acting agent, the surfactant on the detergent, is going to make the mites fall off into the bottom of this cup. And there's a ratio. Since we put 300 bees, you divide the number of mites we find in here by 3, and that's effectively your percentage of mites in the colony. So this is a representative sample that we're essentially looking for mites.
Yeah.
Typically you shake.
How many bees are in the average colony?
In the peak of summer, a double deep will have about 80,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So this one is at the peak right here. So this one may be 10, 20,000, something like that.
What percentage are like drones?
Depends on the time of year, good question. In the springtime, they make lots of drones because their primary reproductive impulse is to breed and procreate. This time of year, they keep drones around just in case the queen dies, they have enough drones to mate another one.
Okay, cool.
And typically, you wouldn't want this drone to mate a daughter from this hive because there'd kind of be, the same genetics breeding with each other. But if this hive is making drones and this hive needs a queen, then those drones may mate with a queen that's born here, and then you complete the genetic cycle. So effectively, they'll be healthy.
That must be great for your trees.
Trees, everything. These citrus trees get lots and lots. Okay, so now you can see these bees are no longer with us. The surfactant did their job. Yep. But the way we check mites is we look in the bottom.
Oh,
and
there's some black stuff. I don't know if those are mites or not.
I gotta look against the sun. That one right there is a mite. See how it looks like the shape of a little disc?
Yeah, I see it.
This is all just dust. That's a mite. So we have 0.3% infestation.
That's not bad.
No, that's really good. Typically less than 5% is what you go for. So
oh, so like there's guaranteed to be like mites usually?
mites are a part of modern day beekeeping. So I essentially sieve that out. So if I do another mite check, that mite doesn't go back in there. And now this detergent can be reused. But that's how you do a mite check. So we just did a mite check and found 0.3%. Now I did treat these for mites about a month ago. So that's kind of a good follow-up to say, did the treatment work? And that is exactly what you want for your bees going into winter, is healthy bees, right? You don't want them getting sick in the wintertime. Got another shot you want to see there?
Yep.
Great. Keep taking all the pictures you need for class. Other things we can see in here. So you can see that the first hive we went through was set up in a vertical fashion, right? So it was the brood chamber on the bottom, a super on the top, and then other things even top. This is a long Langstroth, which things go horizontally. So this type of hive is not typically used for getting honey, because I can't put a queen excluder in here very easily. There are ways of doing it. Matter of fact, I've made a queen excluder for this type of hive using things. This isn't the exact one, but you see how I can slide that in there, and you could have a mesh in here that's like the queen excluder that works in these hives, and you just set that in there, and she can't go left or right.
Really? She can go on top of it? Or is it like...
Well, if you notice how this is designed, to see how that is thicker?
Yeah, I see.
That comes all the way up to here, and when that board's on top, there's not enough room.
Okay.
And when they propolize it up, that's a good question though. All right, so we found the queen. She's okay. And can you see over here? This is kind of a good picture too.
Yeah.
They know she's in there. See how they're all like, she's stuck. There's a little cluster of bees on that cage because they can smell her, and they're like making sure she's okay. Kind of show that for the camera too. Little cluster of bees, of course, found mama. They're in there feeding her. So I've got to put that frame back in there, and I want to make sure I don't squish her. I can do two things. This is typically the way I do it. Make room, because we're done inspecting this when we did a mite check even. Okay, there's my first thing. So you see how the stinger has a little sac on it? That's the venom sac. Now, the stinger has a barb on it. And when you take a stinger out, you don't want to pinch that sac and push more venom in.
Yeah.
You take a sharp knife or a credit card type thing and you scrape it off. That's how you take a bee stinger out.
Okay.
Because the sac has got a little bit more venom, and there's a muscle in that sac that undulates to squeeze venom even after it's been yanked out of the bee.
Seen that on
TikTok. On TikTok. You guys learn everything through TikTok these days. You and my daughter. Okay. Okay, so I like to look at the queen, make sure she's in there, and then a little shake. There she is.
Yep. Cool.
And she's down.
Nice.
So now I can close it up without worrying about it. Now that isn't the best technique to shake, because a young queen might land and then fly off. But I know she's not a young queen. She's an older queen. She's a little bit too fat. She's laying eggs, so she can't fly quite as well. So then I can just kind of close this up. And that hive inspection is done. Now, we did a mite check on this one. So what I like to do is take notes. So you can see it's been since June since I actually wrote anything down on here. But here we are on 10/14, and I can go one mite. So now I have a benchmark on the mite check, and I can even go...
You only do 300 every time, so you know one mite per 300.
So so you're getting dividing by 3, so you're getting a good sample size for statistical reasons. So you're going into pre-med, so you probably understand a little bit of statistics. Yeah. So typically 300 is a statistical significant number that you can use to take averages off of. Yeah. And then sometimes I go green, queen, so I know, hey, I saw her in here on that date. Because I could be doing all these other hives, and if I write a little note like that, I'm like, okay, I know there's a green queen on here in October. So if I come back in December or January and there's no eggs and there's no larvae, I know the queen died since today.
Yep.
Anyway, that's what those notes are for. Now, just as another representative sample, we're going to go to the exact middle of this hive. Get ready to puff in here, because like when you open any hive, you never know if they're going to be happy or sad.
Roaches.
Yeah. They bug you out too?
I hate roaches.
All right.
Stung by any
Okay.
type of insect.
So she hadn't lost her stinger yet.
Okay.
So she's going to have to fly away, but she's stinging me.
They die when they sting, right?
Yeah, they die. They die when they sting. But that was an interesting indicator that right out of the gate, I got stung, right? A little bit different temperament.
Yeah. They are very.
Buzzy, defensive, could be a problem. They could be sick. So now I'm even more curious. I'm probably going to get stung again, which means I'll put my gloves on.
Back up a little bit.
Propolis has got this thing stuck down good. I'm trying to be gentle not to jerk it. There it goes. Okay, now this is actually, I didn't even remember to do this. This one has got a queen cage in it.
Give me this one. That one.
Let me see. This is a separate hive. Yeah, this is the, I think this is the boundary of my, yeah, this is the boundary for a second hive. So this is a 5-frame hive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 frame. See that white cage in there?
Yep.
I put a new queen in here last time I was in here because there was no queen. So this is how I replaced the queen. Let me go ahead and see that smoker and just get it going a little bit more since they were a little bit. Back to you. They were pretty pissy, so that queen may not have taken, or, well, we just don't know. We'll see. If there's no eggs, we know there's no queen. First frame doesn't look good, does it? Don't see any brood on it.
Bad.
All honey.
How do you harvest the honey?
So you cut the wax cappings off and you spin it. You can do it a lot of different ways. Just showing the camera here. See, I have this queen cage on here, yet it's been several weeks and there's not a single bit of brood on here. So this queen did not take, which is also the reason they're probably they stung me right out of the gate, right?
Yep,
That was the
yep.
first clue. It was like, they're not happy. Well, they're not happy.
Queen, you said?
No queen. I mean, there's no eggs in here.
Wow. What's that?
See all this stuff? No queen, no eggs, right? Because eggs and larvae are the first indicator. Obviously, finding her would be the second indicator.
Yep.
But, so these bees are angry because they do not have a mother, and they're called what's hopelessly queenless. They don't have any eggs or any way to make a new queen. So they're essentially, had we not come in here today, this hive would die.
Okay.
But this hive is not going to die today
You have a queen.
because we have all these resource hives over here, which is what I call them, and we will add 3 frames. So this was a 6-framer, so I'm going to typically take out, let me go ahead and, see, that didn't have anything on it, so I'm just going to set that aside.
Yeah. Is that bee dead? Or is that, what is that?
Nah, she's in there sucking honey out of it. She'll fly away. And let me think about this. I'm surveying all of these other hives as to which one would be the best one.
That one looks...
See what I mean? This one's actually running out of space, but let's walk around to the front of these other hives and just kind of assess. But that one's got 5 frames in it. So I either got to take all 5 of those frames. Here's another one that's got a lot on it. I would love to find a 3-framer. See how they're skinnier? There's only 1, 2, 3 frames. This holds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That was good, that framer that you
I think you're right. Out of all the 3-framers, this one looks the most populous. So the reason I want a 3-framer rather than this heavy 5-framer is because these hives are going to have to go through winter. And you can imagine anything going through winter, more resources is better. A 5-framer can survive winter better than a 3-framer because they have more resources.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and take one of these 3-framers and put it over here, and hopefully a queen will continue.
And these 3-framers and 5-framers are just like replace frames?
They are here to raise queens and have extra resources. That's why I raise them. Yep. Okay, so we're going to go to this one right here. You can come. It was this one you liked, right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So just like all of them, first look, give them a little puff. Not too bad. Yep, probably means they got a queen.
So why do they get aggressive about it?
Because it's like they know they're doomed. You see eggs and larvae in there? The bottom of the cells, see little critters with a little milky substance in there in the bottom of the cells? Yep. So we know there's a queen in here. Looking for her.
There's some honey right there.
Yep, this is all honey. That's good. I don't see the queen here, so I'm going to just put this in the hive, in the center.
Is it a problem when you see uncapped honey?
Nope, it's because we're in the nectar flow. They're making it right now.
Oh, okay.
Yep. All right, the center one is the most likely one to have the queen, because that's typically where they raise young, and in a 3-framer, this is the only center one. Look at all that brood.
Wow.
What a difference, huh?
That's crazy, yeah.
So, completely covered. So remember that second hive we looked at, how I said it was kind of spotty? This is not spotty. This is solid almost. I mean, obviously there's a few spots, but this is a beautiful brood pattern. And every single one of those bees is going to become a young bee here in a week or two.
On my slides for this class, they say that if you have 80% or more, that means it's healthy. If it's less, then it's...
Exactly. That's a good number, right? So I didn't see the queen there, so I'm putting that in the middle, and we're going to go look for the box and see if we can find the queen on this last frame. And if she's not on this frame, either I missed her or she's in the box, which gets a little tricky. Another good frame of brood on the edge.
Is she marked on this one or no?
She should be. Sometimes my notes look like they washed off in the hurricane.
Oh.
I don't see her there.
Yeah, the queen's pretty easy to spot. I didn't think it was going to be that like distinct.
Oh, there she is, and she's not marked. I'll let you look for her.
Wait. Oh, right there.
Very obvious, but she's not marked. So, for the purposes of the camera, I'm going to show you how I mark a queen. Let me see.
Get the queen cage?
Nope, I got to use my hands. Okay. But I'm going to do it over here just so the camera can kind of get it. So for the purposes, there's the queen, guys, right there. And a queen has handles.
Does she have a stinger?
She does, but it doesn't have a barb on it. So I'm holding her by her handles, and I'm right-handed. So what I do next is I grab her 3 left legs. See how she's trying to fly?
Yep.
These are young queens. She might be skinny enough to fly. I use a paint marker with enamel, and because this year ends in a 4 or a 9, but this year doesn't end in a 9, so every 5 years we get a new color. The years that ending in a 4 and a 9 are green.
So the company makes different colors? Like for how does it work?
I mean, this is just a green marker made by a company, but beekeepers, I think it's globally, use the same color scheme to mark their queens.
That makes more sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not really. But I'm trying not to get it too runny. And the thorax is right where you put the paint. It's a little hard part of her body. Just like that. And that'll dry up nice because it's enamel. You saw the paint on that other one. It had been on her for months.
Yep.
Now, I could put her right in the cage, but these bees, as you saw in that last one, are going to crawl all over her, right?
Yep.
So it's a little bit better to put her in a cage and let that paint dry. See how I just squeeze her in there? Now she's running around by herself. The bees might come find her, but that paint will dry in about a minute or two.
Okay.
So, we got a queen.
Great.
We have her hive with eggs and brood. Now we are moving these frames over to this other hive. And you might say, but aren't the bees going to fly over to that other destination when they leave? And that would be a good question. And the answer is generally, the worker bees that leave this hive are going to go over here.
Is that an ant?
Where? Yeah, just a little critter. You're in the land of critters.
I don't want to kill a bee.
No, it's okay. They'll make more. That's what I always say. Okay. Guys, if the camera angle is not good on this, like I said, you're just along for the audio. I'm going to kind of keep you centered as best I can. But what we've got, we put 3 frames in the middle in here that had larvae, which were uncapped brood, a lot of capped brood, and you even made the comment, more than 80% was very, very healthy.
Yep.
And all the bees that were covering that. Now, bees have this innate nature, they do not leave brood untended. So even though some of these older bees from this hive might fly over to this box, the nurse bees are going to stay with that larva and raise it. And of course, these bees here are going to get shaken in here, and they're not going to like this too much, but all right. But if I don't put this box right back where they used to know it, you're going to see some confusion over here. Yep. They're going to find another hive to go to. They might find the hive with their queen in it over here, but more than likely they're just going to propagate into these other hives later on tonight and tomorrow. So what we've done is we've taken a 3-frame nucleus colony and put it in the center of this long Langstroth. Is the queen in here yet?
Are you asking me?
Yep.
Oh,
what did I do with the queen?
put it in a cage.
Yep, and she's over there, right? So you can't forget the queen. That wasn't a quiz. It was more like a reminder.
Yep.
I haven't finished my job yet, right? They have young.
Yeah.
And if I did not put this queen in there, I don't know if you learned this in your class or not yet, if there are eggs in this hive that are less than 3 days old, they're a certain size, this hive will perceive itself being queenless in about 30 minutes to an hour.
Yep, we learned that.
And they will rapidly start finding larvae to make a new queen. And they will draw out some queen cells, and those queen cells will hatch in a couple of weeks. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to be getting the 1st of November.
Yeah.
You saw a couple drones in here, but not a lot. When that queen hatches and goes out to mate to look for drones, there may or may not be adequate drones to successfully mate that queen. So that's why this is risky with queens this time of year, because you can't make them from scratch as easily.
Do the drones ever mate with the worker bees, or is that not possible?
No, well, no. Worker bees are, I don't want to say they're genetically different, but they're epigenetically different. They have evolved without the necessary, they have grown without the necessary organs to lay fertilized eggs. There are some scenarios that the absence of this queen pheromone, some of these workers will start laying eggs, but they will be unfertilized eggs that will only turn into drones.
Okay, so the genes to make the fertilized eggs, but they're not expressed?
They have the genes to make eggs, but they don't have the ability of fertilizing them. A female egg without fertilization will turn into a drone. It takes the chromosome from the semen kept in the spermatheca to create a female bee. That's med school stuff, so I figured you could go into that, that part of it. All right, so here you saw how that queen was so much more buzzy. So I didn't want to shake her in there because she might have flown away, because you saw how she was flapping her wings before, right, when I was marking her. So now we have a marked queen, 3 frames of bees that are all hers, and then some other bees that are not hers. Now some people watching this video might say, aren't those bees going to fight?
Yeah.
And the answer is maybe a little bit, but the number of bees that were in here that did not have a queen and were hopelessly queenless are more than likely going to go, oh my God, we got a queen, and they're just going to assimilate to her smell. Bees typically fight when they have the defense of a mated queen that isn't theirs, so since they don't have a queen that they're trying to defend, they should take that queen fine. If I was worried about them fighting, that's when you use these queen cages to introduce a queen.
Are they fighting right there?
No, that's getting to know each other.
Oh, okay.
They're not really fighting. I mean, there may be a little bit, but that's not what robbing and fighting looks like. So if I were to put the queen in here and stick some queen sugar in here and put this in here, they would be able to have access to the queen, but it would take about 2 days for them to eat this sugar, and they would slowly get used to her. Anyway.
Does that not hurt you, like, at all?
Yeah, just used to it. Part of it. I'd rather have the agility in my fingers with the occasional sting than be fumbling with gloves and squishing extra bees and all that sort of stuff. So it just kind of comes with it. All right, so now we probably should take some extra good notes on this one, because we did a lot that we need to remember. All right, so I am going to go ahead and erase all that other stuff because it is irrelevant. And I'm going to say 10, 14.
What about this thing right here? There's a frame out here.
Yeah. Well, you know, I filled this one up, so those bees are just going to have to.
Go there.
This has got a little bit of honey on it, so this one will get robbed out a smidge. All right, and put the lid back on that little guy.
Back on here.
Oh yeah, you can do that too. Let me put this guy on. And so because there's some honey in here, when we walk around to the front of the yard, I'm gonna take this box with me and I'm gonna let the bees in the front of the yard eat that honey.
Right there in that little box.
In where?
That white box.
This one?
No, the small white.
Oh yeah, I'll put that in my pocket because I'm not using that. Yeah, that's a good one. That's called a queen cage.
Yeah.
Queen cage.
That's one that you can teach, right?
That's the one that it's a, you know, the workers can't kill her when she's in there, basically, is what that is. All right, let's see. What else can I teach as we kind of wrap up here? But you're all zipped up. Yeah, she's buzzing. It's kind of weird where you're protected by all this equipment, yet the buzzes are all still there, right? It takes a little bit of, I don't know what the right word is, fortitude or guts or nerves. I don't have a wasp issue, but you can see over here, I do have a trap on this kumquat tree, just to kind of monitor, if there were. I don't typically in this location have any. That's a wasp trap hanging on that kumquat tree, that little bottle. Can you see it right here? The center one? Yeah. That's there to catch wasps. All right, well, Yousif, let's say goodbye to the camera. I think we'll wrap this up and then walk around front. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for hanging with us. Hopefully this video comes out all right. I'm just going to post it the way it is. Let me know in your comments below if you still think it was helpful. If you don't like this sort of stuff, then I won't do it again. Thanks for coming out, Yousif.
Thanks for having me, man.
It was awesome.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.